We'll now take a few questions for our first two speakers.
Zdaj vprašanje lahko zastavite tudi v slovenščini in bova potem prevedli.
Alenka Gauti-Čojč from the National University Library of Slovenia. You have had an impressive presentations, both of you, Caroline and Thomas. Congratulations for all the efforts you are doing, and it's really for us still some kind of science fiction, but anyway, I hope that we will reach also these goals. Well, I was just thinking about the impact on the society, on the local communities. Do you have any measure or way of evaluate the impact that you produce on your local communities? Because you were talking mostly about librarians, but what about the local communities? Well, you said that there's an increase of users, but is there anything else? What happens after that? So maybe you first.
It will be a short answer. I wish we were better at it because our focus is to learn people skills so they can go home and do more themselves. But how do we measure it? We don't have like a big apparatus to do that. We can only like interview people, talk to them. The thing we can measure is how much things are getting fixed at the library, at our events. And we are trying to do that in some sort of way. And the organization that first started repair parties for electronics, they have made like a calculator on how much CO2 you don't, or you save by fixing so and so much electronics and so on. But it's hard, especially since we're not like a school. We don't grade people, we don't follow them. They come there and then they leave.
In Denmark, we have, actually with Norway, we had a project called Upscale, and we were looking at how libraries work with sustainable goals and communities. It started out as a project about a library of things. How could we lend out drilling machines and so on? And it ended up like the way we are working, the way you're working in Bergen, and the way we are working at the Barrel at that time, and then in DB 2030. And they actually looked into it, and what they're saying, it was a Danish university and Norway's university, Oslo University. And they said there's evidence that when we go out and actually getting those local people committed to work with the SDGs, it actually make a difference. It's like 100 people, it's like 1,000. But they said there's evidence that we're doing. The article is on our website, DB 2030. You have to go there anyway, because that's where you get into the week 17 when you're going to join us. At the homepage in the bottom, we have gathered all the articles which talk into this. How can we actually see what the effect we have on the local society? And the project called Eating, Grow, Create is actually what we're doing, because then we have the university to look at when we are making a common dinner or something like that, community dinner. What effect does it have? We know it has an effect that people meet each other, doing things. There's evidence that when they meet each other, something's happening. They actually, when they talk about green food, not because they have to be vegetarians, but when they talk about green food, when they eat together, they actually go home and change some of their ways in their own kitchen to doing things. So we know a lot of bits around what we are doing, that it has an effect, but not exactly what, when we're doing this, there's a lot of smiling faces. I think they're happy we're doing something for them, but what is the effect outside the event or the things we're doing? But that's what we're doing in this 3 years project, is actually getting some evidence on what we're doing.
Thank you very much. My name is Giuseppe Vitiello, and I'm a representative of the Rete delle Reti delle Biblioteche Italiane, which is an Italian organization. I was very interested by both presentations. Congratulations, Thomas, because you have created a snowball effect to the point that your projects may even work without governmental funding. And congratulations to Ingrid, because you really selected the targets which were relevant to your communities. So it's very, very interesting. I note that there is a very strong environmental focus, and that's what we would expect, let's say, from Denmark and Norway, because we know that they are environment-friendly states. However, I would like also to remember that in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, there are 3 pillars: the environmental, the social, and the economic. And let's say, I can fully understand that, let's say, your focus is more, for instance, for Ingrid is 4.7, and also for you, which is education for sustainable development. But in other countries, and especially in Southern and Eastern European countries, the focus is very much more on social and economic. And I would say, for instance, for SDG 4 is from 4.1 to 4.6 in terms of targets. So my question is, what kind of, I have 2 questions actually. The first is, what kind of suggestions would you have for countries like Italy, for instance, where really we need to focus on SDGs, on the social and economic pillars of the Agenda 2030. So this is the first question. The second question is very much like the questions that was asked before by the Slovenian Library Association, and it is about, not so much about impact, but about exactly, more precisely, about indicators. You must know that since you are presenting things to the Ministry of Economics, they say, oh, what a nice story, but we want figures. And when we come to figures, and I know very well about it because I'm a new member of the IFLA Committee on Statistics and Evaluation, libraries do need new statistics. So I don't know whether you have contacts with IFLA and SULIB, but do you know whether there has been work about indicators? We found out actually that the indicators, the UNESCO indicators, are not very relevant for libraries, or relevant only to a certain extent. We hope very much that these new indicators that are coming out from the European Union, I say new, although they are 5 years old, but new indicators for the linked with the action plan for the European social pillars. We hope that these indicators are relevant for libraries and we can create a link with these new kind of indicators. Again, I mean, my question is, from your experience, and did you have indicators to be linked with, for instance, the European Green Deal? Sorry for my long question.
No. It's okay. I really don't have a specific answer for you. It's been things that we discussed, and we're kind of like enthralled and saying, yes, how can we measure it? Also in the community as a whole, they are discussing it, and now we have still a long way to go on the indicators. About the social pillar, it's important. Can you say some more on what are the specific problems in Italy? Maybe it's easier to answer.
One of the most important problems is the NEET, not employed, not in employment, education.
Yeah.
That's a big problem. We have NET up to, in some regions, up to 30%. Really enormous in young population.
Okay. So different communities, different problems. Definitely. The top comes to mind as I read a book about, I think it was, the Los Angeles Library and history. How they did like a lot of micro-credential courses for the community. That was really inspiring. But I can say what we did about it with our tackling of that kind of problem is that there is some discrimination in Norway. A lot of non-Norwegian people are not getting jobs because they're not Norwegian. We had like research saying if you have a foreign-sounding name, it's harder to get a job. And so on. And I wanted to address that problem because we have a lot of those people coming to our library, that's a language cafe. And then one of our lecturers was from the university talking about all the research that's going on this and how is it all connected? What does research say about it and how are we working not to have this discrimination? That is my answer.
The answer to the first question is join week 17, and I come back to that. The first week 17 we had in 2023. We said it's about all the SDG goals, and we had some on some socials on Monday and some economy on Tuesday and so on. But that was just being, in Denmark we would call it leverpostej. It would be like a pudding or something where we put all the things in it and people couldn't work with it. And it was difficult to us to coordinate things because when you had all the goals, it was like, it could go anywhere. In Denmark, there are the C40 cities in the Paris Climate Agreement. That's 40 cities in the world who have to go in front of developing their cities in a sustainable way. And Copenhagen is a C40 town. In Denmark, all communities, all the regions, they gathered together and said, why it is only Copenhagen who have to live up to the Paris Agreement? We want to do it also. So today, all the communities in Denmark, they have the same climate action plan that the C40s have to live up to the Paris Agreement. That's one kind in the world that could agree on that. But that meant that we could sort of work with them. So last year, we worked and said, where are the communities in their talk? What is the way into the local municipalities, to the mayor, to the politicians? They were there where they were sitting and say, we are going to do something with the climate. So we said, okay, last year the theme for week 17 was climate. And that's only in Denmark. When you join week 17, you can have your own agenda, you can choose your own targets. But we said climate because we knew, then we were talking to the mayors, the politicians, and they could see in their own community, wow, they're talking about climate at the library. That's what we're doing with the engineers up on the municipality. So we made this combination. This year, we took it a step further. We said, where are they now? They are in the consumer-led CO2 out something. That means the garbage. That means food. That means the things that the citizen can actually do something with. That's target number 12. So now we said the theme was number 12. And next year, and that's why you should join, Italy should join week 17. Next year, we're going to have food. We're going to have target number 2, stop hunger. And we're going to have food culture, how we can eat green and so on. So we're taken to a step where it's not like a colored box or a target, but it's a theme that actually talks to people. And when we're talking about food in the project we have here, and we're just sitting making a new funding for a new project with a local famous Danish cook who made a lot of TV programs and so on, making food programs and so on, where we're going to take their knowledge into the libraries, because gathering people together to eat, that's as much a social thing that it is a green climate thing. So we didn't choose climate as the most important. All the green organizations said you should talk climate, Thomas, because then you get funding. We said, no, we're talking the SDG goals because it's holistic. We can do all the things by learning all the boxes you placed. So that's important for us. When we gather people together, a lot of the people who comes to the library, they're lonely people. Loneliness has a lot of effect on health in Denmark, and I think all over the world. So we see it as a social thing to get people together. If they then eat more green food, then it's good for the climate. But it's a social thing. In the project upscale, and I can send it to you so you can sit out. In project, they made a new model where they took the 3 sustainable things, economy, social, and environment, and they put culture into it. So now we have a model where we have culture at the library into it. So we're actually working with these things. And you said about the targets. That's why we're doing the new projects. I don't think we have these kind of things, and that's why it can be difficult to get the funding and the community or the government to see us, because we're doing something fluffy in the middle. You have something. They're doing this on the climate and blah blah blah. Their electric cars and infrastructure and so on. And they want to do something with the people, but we doing it's like difficult to explain. So I don't think we have a lot of things we can say. It's the same as you say that we can go in and say that's the effect of it. But we're trying now what I can see is all the big spenders, Lego, Novo, Velux, the big companies in Denmark and world companies, they're actually funding us. So they can see what we are doing is important. And what we hope is they're getting more and more facts and more statistic out of it, so we can give it to you and Blida and the other organizations.
You invited colleague to join. Okay. You invited a colleague to join the week 17. What we need to do if we want to join?
I hoped for that question. You have to send me an email, right? Then you have to go home to your local library and say, I have sent an email to Thomas. We're now week 17 library. So I put it on the website and I link it to your library. Then you have to make one event or one exhibition or one thing that has something to do with the SDG goals. Then you are week 17 library. It sounds very simple, but what we can see a lot of libraries, usually it's one person at the library who thinks they should work with SDGs and climate and so on, one fearful, and they can actually say to their chief, we're just going to make a little exhibition, then we're week 17, isn't that good, right? We don't use a lot of resources. Every library who joins going in all the way. As soon as they go back to the organizations, they get their colleagues with them. It's like, as I remember when Nova started last year as pilot libraries, it was like, we're going to do this and this. 2 things, because that's what we had to do. They sent me these programs where they were totally full, like what you're doing this week at the library here. Totally full with events and so on. But it's voluntarily to do all the things. And now, we can say that Norway is all in. The Norwegian Library Association is all in, and they're driving their own week 17 uke 17 in Norway. And sometimes they tell us what they're doing, and sometimes they don't, and we're just like, way.
But yeah, it is true. It's actually that easy. Let's make it easy to join. You're good at that, Thomas. We are also week 17 in the library. And we're doing stuff, and I would say one of the most important effects of it is that you're making all the people at the library aware of all the things we are doing already that's sustainable. So it's not a hard job to do. It's talking out loud about it. And then we do some extra because we're inspired. So, mail Thomas, and you're in.
Actually, when we had a kickoff for week 17 last year, I sent it out to IFLA and IBLIDA and all kinds of organizations. So some of them looked. I got a letter from Nevada in the United States, from the government's office in Nevada. They had actually made a program how to, they use AI and something like, they make a program, an app to get people to, how to make a CV, curriculum vitae, to their, when they were jobs, seeking a job. That was the point you said, there was one of the problem in Italy. And they made this program, and they told me, could this be part of week 17, that we could put this app and this program this way, so we can help people, the libraries out there, to help people to get jobs? And we were like, I don't know, but now I know. Thank you. So I'm going to write to the governor's office in Nevada and say, yeah, it could be, because I know there's the same problem in Italy.
I would just like to say one small thing about that concerning your question, because for me it's also about looking around us in the community and seeing what are other organizations doing, because we have a lot of volunteer organizations doing like the CV help programs. I don't want to compete. I want to make us stronger together. So I have to talk with them and see, what are you doing? Okay, I understand it. Will it be of some help if we collaborate? Yes or no? Maybe it's no. But then at least I had the knowledge to tell my people at the library, you know, this organization has this offering that you can go to. But a lot of things we're not doing because someone else is doing it. So it's important to work together as a community also.
Hello to you all. My name is Ana Zdravje and I'm a member of IFLA and SULIB. And I will talk about the indicators and how to help you maybe with quality and quantity indicators. And maybe you can help you with public guidelines for public libraries, for example. That's the first step. And then maybe first you must set goals for you. What is about sustainability is important in libraries, you know, in Europe or maybe all over the world, because of your IFLA section, and that's that's very important, you know. But I think that this is quality and then quantity, you know, indicators. That's we have to talk about both together. Yes, combine. And this is what I'm going to just tell you. Maybe later we can talk about more. And of course, maybe about green libraries, we have guidelines now, and tomorrow we can talk more about this measurement and so on. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Igor from the Bergen Public Library. I have maybe two questions and a short commentary also on what you said. First of all, thank you for your presentations. They were very, very profound. It keeps us on our toes when you talk about those things, even if we step outside of the library world as a human being. It's very interesting to see what the fundamental human condition is, that we start to talk about our home, the world, even after it's already being compromised. So these are very, very important topics. So maybe first the commentary. I agree with you. Maybe it's one of the main things is that we can, or the parts of the world that have less economic troubles, if I may say so, can more easily talk about the nature, the sustainability, because the primary human condition is what? You have to have certainty, you have to have some primary needs fulfilled, and then after that you can go beyond and talk about other things. So maybe it's really, if you talk about different parts of the world where economic, socio-economic statuses Are different also the fundaments of thinking about your environment, the places where you live is a little bit different. But nevertheless, we only have one world, so we have to take care of it. And maybe just a couple of short questions. A first one maybe for you, Thomas. What was the initial response of the public, not the financiers or the municipalities or the politics, when the library said that, well, we are going on the path of sustainability? You said it before that when you had the meeting, the first response was, well, it's not our thing, the libraries are not there to do that. So what was the initial response of the public when you started with those projects? And maybe more focused question for you, Ingrid, when you were talking about the Fix Fest. Yes, we saw that there's a possibility to repair things, to repair your instruments, to do a lot of different things. But I have a very technical question. With all the materials, with all the people who do this, are these employees of the library, or do you outsource this? And how is it with the materials? You buy the materials, or do people bring them with them so they can fix things? Or are they brought by those outsourced individuals who do this? So thank you very much again for both of your presentations.
Thomas first, I can read the other one afterwards.
Well, it's very different when we talk about 85. Actually, it's 90% of the Danish libraries who are in week 17 now. It's on a very different scale. Some of the libraries, it's like they have an event exhibition. They have some of the games we have. Maybe they have Lego Build a Change, and that's it. So they don't come out in the local community because maybe the local community is not ready. They can have a mayor or politicians or a municipality who's not working with SDGs. I think it's like 78% of the Danish communities, municipalities, are working with SDGs. So that means there's 23% who is not working with them. So they don't have the platform to actually go all in. So it's very different. In other municipalities and communes, they are all in. And we work a lot with it, like I said, when we're making community dinners. It's not taking a colored box with a number and putting down the throat of a citizen. It's inviting them to eat green. So it's a strategy for us. It's a way to see a path, and because we think we have to do something about it. But as a citizen, it's not like we have the SDGs at the colored boxes and so on in the library because we have to show that we're working with it. But it's not actually the main story about it. When we're doing the actually concrete things, but we know that it's part of the big plan. We're part of a new project called Under the Same Sun, which is the foreign minister, who is Lars Løkke Rasmussen, who signed the SDG goals, and the SDG goals has been now under Lars Løkke Rasmussen. For the next 4 years, we're going to put all the things that we're doing in week 17, the workshops, the communal dinners, all the things that we're doing in Denmark in week 17. We're going to mirror that to Africa, to 7 countries in Africa, and see what they're doing. Not that they're going to be a part of week 17, but they're going to be part of week 17 in Denmark, so we can see what are we doing in Denmark, what effect has that on the African way of seeing the SDGs, and the other, well, what can we learn from the African countries in Denmark to do? That knowledge is for the whole world to share, I think.
Okay, I will actually answer the really down to the matters questions. About fixing electronics, is it volunteers, and the equipment, who's paying for it, and so on. So, as I said in my presentation, we recognize at the library that we can't know everything and do everything, because then the municipality can afford to keep the library. But the things we are good at is getting in touch with the people who can and who would like to volunteer. So, and it's also a big point for the Restarters Norway, the organization that started the repair parties, that it is volunteer work. That is why you also have a disclaimer as the party saying these are volunteer people trying to help you fix stuff. It's not their responsibility in any way if it kind of doesn't work, right? So you have to like lower the risk to get people to join and so on. Because people are scared, there's so much loss about fixing electronics and so on, but we have to know what can you actually do. And I would say that the most important thing when people come to the repair party is diagnostics. Can you fix this? Is it easy to fix? Then maybe we can just solder something there and then it works. But sometimes you say, no, it's this part that needs fixing. And our volunteers a lot of times know that this little piece you can get at this website. So if you buy this, you can come back and we can fix it together. So we don't have like a big storage of spare parts because we can meet every need, but we can work in that way.